Okay, good evening. My name's Sangus here. This is Priyavajra. Welcome to the London Buddhist Centre in Bethnal Green. So it's really lovely to be here, and it's really lovely to be here with Priyavajra. Actually, I'll just embarrass him. I should embarrass myself as well. So Priyavajra was my study leader many years ago, and she was 11 years ago now, and we studied together for about 3 or 4 years. So that means I've known him for about 15 years, and so do your maths. And anyway, just look at the white hair. Actually, that's the easiest thing to do. So this evening we're going to be exploring the Bahia Sutra, and I'm really looking forward to that. So it's a favourite sutta of mine, and the format of the evening is that I'm going to lead a meditation which relates to the subject matter of the sutta. Priyavajra is then going to give a talk on the sutta. Then we'll have a short break, and we'll come back for another short meditation, some more words from Priyavajra, and then an opportunity for some questions and answers, which you can put up on the chat box. And Britta here, who's handling all the tech side, will be fielding the questions to Priyavajra and I, and hopefully we'll be able to answer some of those. And we'll just have a few words at the end, and then a very short, very, very simple Buddhist ritual to conclude the evening. So we'll be finished by 8:30. So if you'd like to find a meditation posture that you're comfortable with, perhaps you're going to be sitting on a dining room chair. You may have meditation cushions. I'm going to be introducing a guided meditation where we're looking at the qualities of the breath. So for those of you who have meditation experience, there'll be elements of the mindfulness of breathing included in this practice. But the main focus is just paying attention to what we actually sense, the qualities and characteristics of the breath. Come into relationship with our direct experience, rather than any techniques or stories. Beginning just by getting a sense of your weight on the cushion, on the chair, on the bed. Letting gravity do its work. Just becoming aware the temperature of the air against the skin. Touch of the fabric and cloth of your clothes against the body. Your sense of smell. The sounds that surround you. You may be able to hear the police siren here in Roman Road. The sense of taste on your lips or on the roof of your mouth. And any images as they present themselves behind your eyelids or in your mind's eye. So sitting for a couple of minutes in broad awareness. And bring your attention down to the belly. Noticing how the belly rises and expands as you breathe in. And how it falls and reduces when you breathe out. Resting in awareness of the natural depth and rhythm of your breathing as you find it. No need to change or modify the pattern of the breath. Just sitting with it as it is. And from the belly, taking your awareness up to the chest. Noticing how the chest expands and contracts with each in-breath and out-breath. Again, no need to change or modify the pattern of the breath. Just resting in awareness of the way it actually is. From the chest, taking your attention now to the tips of the lips, tip of the nose, edges of the nostrils. And the sense of the air moving in and out of the body with the in-breath and the out-breath. It's quite a subtle sensation. lips to the mouth and the tip of the nose. Now take your attention to the focus of the breath within the body. That point where you first or most intensely experience the sensation of breathing. That could be in the belly, it could be in the chest. And the focus of the breath within the body could be experienced anywhere. From the earlobe to the big toe, the little finger. Wherever that point is, just imagine you can breathe in and out of that part of the body. Noticing the quality of that sensation. Is it pleasant? Is it unpleasant? Is it something in between? Now we're going to be using the breath as a guide for awareness. So imagine now you can breathe through the feet, the toes, the heels, the ankles, the instep, the soles of your feet. Breathing through those parts of the body. And just noticing the sensations there. Are they pleasant or unpleasant? Sensations intense, or are they softer? And take your attention from the feet to the calf muscles and shins, breathing through that part of the body. To the knees and the backs of the knees. And to the thighs, inner leg and hamstrings. Breathing through that part of the body. Bring your awareness to that part of the body as you breathe in, letting go and softening on the out-breath. Breathing into the groin, the pelvis and the hips. So the sitting bones, the buttocks. Feeling the weight of your upper torso supported by the cushion or the chair or the bed. Sense of your body being supported by the structure you're sitting on, the floor, the foundations of the building, the ground and the earth. Staying in touch with the raw physical sensations. Letting go of any stories or concepts. Taking your attention to the base of the spine. Inversely with the spine stacking one on top of each other. Taking awareness up to the small of the back, noticing the natural curvature of the spine. Between the shoulder blades up to the base of the neck and the base of the skull. As you do so, noticing the weight of your shoulders falling away towards the floor. Breathing into that part of the body. The shoulders, the base of the neck, the collarbone. And from the tops of the arms down through the upper arm towards the elbows, breathing through that part of the body too. And just paying attention to the raw physical sensation, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant or something in between. From the elbows along the forearms to the wrists. From the wrists into the palms of your hands, towards the tips and pads of your fingers. Noticing any sensations in the tips and pads of your fingers. Quite a subtle quality in terms of the sensitivity, tips and pads of our fingers. Tingling sensation, sensitivity to temperature. Again, just noticing the raw physical sensation. No need to conceptualize, let go of any stories. And taking that raw attention to the face, allowing the face to be soft, softening the jaw, letting go of any tension around the mouth, the nose and the eyes. And perhaps holding the lips and the mouth very slightly apart, allowing yourself to feel the touch of the breath as it moves over to the lips, to the roof of the mouth and the back of the throat. feeling the texture, the temperature of the breath. Noticing the length of the in-breath and the out-breath. How it might subtly change between each inhalation and exhalation. There's a texture to your breath. And you notice a temperature, and change between the in-breath and the out-breath. Taking attention out to the nose and tip of the upper lip of the mouth. A subtle sensation as the air moves in and out of the body. And noticing how you focus your attention, your energy might feel more integrated, more directed. A sense of absorption into your physical experience. Once more, just settling into an awareness of the natural depth and rhythm of your breathing as you find it. And expanding your awareness once more back into the room, to the sounds that surround you. Sense of smell. And taste on your lips and the roof of your mouth. Sense of your body supported by the chair, the cushion or the bed. As the third chime of the singing bowl dies away, in your own time, open your eyes and sitting at ease again. So well done everybody at home. I hope you benefited from that short meditation. And I hope also it's set you up now for listen to Priyavajra, who's going to be introducing the Bahia Sutra.
Thank you, Senghasiya. Thank you very much for that lovely meditation. I really enjoyed that. Really set me up. And yes, I'm going to be telling the story of Bahiya. And he was quite an extraordinary man who had quite an extraordinary life. And he's probably best known for the fact that the Buddha gave him one of the most profound teachings from early Buddhism, an extraordinary teaching. Anyway, let's start with the life of Bahiya. So for most of his life, Bahiya was a merchant. He travelled in many ships across the Indian Ocean, going from port to port, buying things here and selling them there. And he was very successful. He made lots of money, and all went very well until one day when his ship sank. And his ship sinks and takes everything with it. He ends up on a beach not very far from a town called Suparika, and he's got nothing. He has literally got nothing. No money, no goods, not even clothes. And he looks around on the beach. He's probably a bit embarrassed. He's standing there completely naked, wondering what to do. He's grateful that he's alive, but he's completely naked. So he's very inventive. What he does is he makes these sort of makeshift clothes out of the bark of a tree. So Bahiya becomes known as Bahiya of the bark cloth, because he wears these clothes made out of bark. And he can't find anyone else around. It's getting late. He wants somewhere to sleep for the night, and fortunately he finds a cave. So he's there for a few days like this, living on the beach, sleeping in the cave, wearing his clothes of bark cloth. And then other people turn up, and they see this guy wearing these strange clothes. They've never seen him before. They don't know where he's come from. And they assume that he's a sage or a mystic or something like that. And in India at the time, and this is the time of the Buddha, so we're talking about a time 2,500 years ago, mystics and sages are very revered. They're looked up to, they're honoured. You go and ask them for advice, and in return, you kind of look after them. You give them food, perhaps you give them clothes, etc., etc. You look after your mystics. And this tradition is still carried on today. Today they're called sadhus, and they're an official category of person in the Indian legislation. So that's quite interesting. Anyway, back to Bahiya. Bahiya becomes very popular with the locals. They see him as a wise man, perhaps quite an important man, and they do ask him for advice, and they do feed him, they do bring him gifts, and so on and so forth. And so Bahiya is doing quite well. He's sort of thinking, yeah, I'm doing all right. Everyone looks up to me, everyone reveres me, everyone honours me, they bring me gifts. Perhaps I am a wise man. Perhaps I'm even enlightened. And the moment he thinks that thought, I'm enlightened, something happens. And what happens is a Devata appears. So let me explain this. At the time of the Buddha, spirits and supernatural creatures of all sorts are taken for granted that they exist, that they exist. Everybody believes in tree spirits, they believe in sea spirits, they believe in water spirits, they believe in all kinds of spirits. And Bahiya certainly believes in spirits, and this spirit certainly appears to Bahiya. I mean, it doesn't appear in the sense of he can see it. You can't see spirits, but they appear there's a sort of sense of them. There's a strong sense of something supernatural has occurred, and something supernatural has appeared, or is there, is present. And the spirit, the Devata, communicates to Bahiya. Unfortunately, what the spirit communicates is rather shocking. It's the truth. The spirit, this is the Devata speak the truth, but it can be quite shocking, and usually is. So the Devata says to Bahiya, you're not enlightened. Bahiya, not only are you not enlightened, you're not even on the way to enlightenment. You don't have a path, a spiritual path leading to enlightenment. You aren't even doing any practices like meditation that are going to get you enlightened. And Bahiya is quite shocked. A few moments ago he was thinking, I'm enlightened, and now he's told, no way, Bahiya, you are not enlightened. So Bahiya says, okay, says to the spirit, tell me, how do I get enlightened? How can I be enlightened? I need to be enlightened. It's important for me. So the spirit says, well, Bahiya, in a town in near Shravasti, in a place called the Jeta's Grove, there is a Buddha. So the Buddha is, we think of the Buddha as a person, but actually the Buddha means an enlightened being. It's a sort of an honorific. It's a name given to an enlightened being. The Buddha who we think of, the historical Buddha, his name was Siddhartha. Anyway, so Bahiya says, great, okay, I'll go to Shravasti. Now, Shravasti from Saparika is about 1,200 miles, so it's quite a journey. It's quite a journey that Bahiya has to undertake to get to see the Buddha. Anyway, he undertakes it, off he goes, wearing his bark cloth, and perhaps many days, weeks, perhaps even months later, he arrives outside Shravasti. It doesn't take him long to find the monks. The monks are camped in the Jeta's Grove outside Shravasti, and he goes to the grove and looks for the Buddha. And the monks say, he's not here at the moment. He said, where is he? I need to go and see him. And they say, well, not now. And he said, no, I need to go and see the Buddha. Not now, Bahiya. No, I need to see the Buddha. Not now, Bahiya. Anyway, so they explain very slowly to Bahiya, look, Bahiya, the Buddha is on his alms round. So in the morning, the monks individually go into the town. They leave the grove where they sleep and live. They go into the town with a bowl and they beg for food. And what this means is the monks will go from house to house with their heads bowed, holding a big bowl, a bit like this actually, perhaps a little bit smaller. They would be holding this bowl, the head bowed, and they would go and stand outside somebody's door. They wouldn't say anything, they would just stand there, perhaps several minutes, and if they were lucky, somebody would put some food in their bowl, and of course if they're unlucky, they won't, in which case they have to go to the next door. So that's what they do, and the whole thing is conducted in complete silence. It's conducted in complete silence, and they take whatever they're given, and they eat whatever they're given. So whatever is put in the bowl, that's what they eat. Yeah? Whatever goes in the bowl, that's what they eat. Anyway, again, Bahiya ignores the advice he's given and runs off into the town to try and find the Buddha. So he arrives in Shravasti, and he sees the monks going from door to door on their alms round, collecting food. And it doesn't take him very long to spot the Buddha, because the Buddha is The Buddha is visibly different from other beings. The Buddha is so serene, so calm, so poised, just looks really noble, just got this amazing upright posture, very quiet, almost moves by magic. So he spots the Buddha and he goes to the Buddha, he goes straight to the Buddha, even though he's been told not to, and he throws himself on the ground in front of the Buddha. Just literally throws himself on the ground in front of the Buddha with his hands like this. And the Buddha sort of looks down at him, and Bahiya says, noble one, I need a teaching. I need a teaching for my welfare and for the welfare of the world. And the Buddha sort of looks at him and says, Bahiya, the time is not right. The time is not right. I'm on my alms round. When I finish my alms round, I'll return to the Jeta's Grove and perhaps I will see you then. And the Buddha just walks off. And Bahiya's not having this. Bahiya goes after the Buddha, and again he bows to the Buddha and he says to the Buddha, you must give me a teaching. I need a teaching. I need the truth. I need to know the Dharma. I need to know the way to enlightenment. I could die any day, and you could die any day. I must have a teaching now. And the Buddha, very calmly explains again to Bahiya, Bahiya, I'm on my alms round. When I finish my alms round, I will return to the Jeta's Grove, and then perhaps we can talk. And just walks off again. Now what Bahiya does now is extraordinary. Again, he follows the Buddha, he bows to the Buddha, and he says to the Buddha, for a third time now, I need a teaching. I must have a teaching. I could die today. I could die tomorrow. So could you. So could you. Give me a teaching now. Please, please, give me a teaching now. Now this is an extraordinary thing. And it is an extraordinary thing because the tradition is very much that you do not ask a Buddha for something 3 times. That is just not done. You do not ask a Buddha for something 3 times. But if you do ask a Buddha for something 3 times, then the Buddha will give you, if they can, what you ask. So on the one hand, Bahiya is showing how desperate he is for a teaching, but on the other hand, in a sense, he's being exceedingly rude. He's a sadhu, he's a nothing, and this is the Buddha. This isn't the enlightened being, perhaps the only enlightened being of the time in India. But the Buddha has been asked the same question 3 times, and the Buddha responds. And I'm just going to read you out how the Buddha responds. I'm going to read it to you so I get it right. The Buddha says, then Bahiya, this is how you should train yourself. In the seeing, there will be only the seen. In the hearing, there will be only the heard. In the sensing, only the sensed. And in the thinking, only the thought. This is how you should train yourself, Bahiya. When you do this, there will be no more suffering. So I'll just read you out again. As I say, I consider it one of the most profound teachings that the Buddha gave to, especially to a lay person. Bahiya is not even a monk. Then Bahiya, you should train yourself this way. In the seeing, there will only be the seen. In the hearing, only the heard. In the sensing, only the sensed. In the thinking, only the thought. This is how you should train yourself, Bahiya. When you do this, there will be no more suffering. So I think Bahiya would have been completely stunned by this teaching. He would have been probably shaking, I think. This is a very profound teaching. And the Buddha had this way of sensing with every person he met. He could sense what it was that was blocking that person from leading a truly spiritual life, from attaining enlightenment. He could just sense it. So he knows that this teaching is going to, Bahiya's been rude, and he's given this incredibly strong teaching to this lay person, an ordinary person, not a monk, just an ordinary person. He's given this incredible strong teaching to Bahiya. And Bahiya probably just left on the ground, just shaking by what he's heard, the profundity of what he's heard. The Buddha walks off and walks very mindfully and slowly and quietly back to the Jeta's Grove. When the Buddha arrives back in the Jeta's Grove, the monks gather around the Buddha and say, Bahiya has died. Bahiya has been killed by a cow with a calf. So in the time it has taken the Buddha to walk to the Jeta's Grove, this cow, perhaps a mad cow, has killed Bahiya. Bahiya is dead. Bahiya is dead. So the Buddha tells the monks to collect Bahiya's body and take it to the cremation ground and have it cremated and set up a memorial. And he says, your brother in the spiritual life has died. And it's quite extraordinary that he says this, your brother in the spiritual life has died, because they don't know Bahiya. He's not a monk. So that's quite extraordinary. And the monks then ask the Buddha, so what has happened to Bahiya? What they mean is, what has happened to Bahiya after he's died? Has he sort of gone to heaven, or has he, what's happened to him? What has happened to his spirit, if you like? And the Buddha says, Bahiya is unbound, which effectively means that Bahiya was enlightened and will not be reborn. In other words, yes, Bahiya was enlightened. So the Buddha is saying this teaching was so profound that it's kind of shocked Bahiya into enlightenment. So Bahiya has, in the few seconds that he's heard this teaching, before he's got killed, he has got enlightened. So he's got his wish, he's had his wish has been fulfilled, but he has, at least he has got enlightened before he died. So that is the story of Bahiya. An extraordinary story, isn't it? It's an absolutely extraordinary story. It's just amazing. And there's so much in it. I don't know where to begin, in a sense. There is so much in that story. But I will say a little bit about it, and perhaps a little bit more later. And as Sankar says, if you've got any questions, you can put them in the chat, and our wonderful tech team, or Britta, will relay them to us. But let's just start with a little bit of the teaching. The first part of the teaching is, in the seeing, only the seen. In the seeing, only the seen. Now, what does that mean? Well, okay, what happens when we see? So here we are. Here's something. You can see it, yes? A lemon. Another object. How well you can see it? That's a lime. All right. So that's what happens. That's what human beings do. Lemon, lime, apple, floor, ceiling, whatever. This is what we do. And in other words, when we see things, we label them. That's what we do. The human mind does this. It just does that automatically. Probably no other animal has such an enormous capacity for labeling things, for conceptualizing, for doing that. I mean, a blackbird can see a lemon, but it doesn't think lemon, or it doesn't even have a word, even in blackbird language, for this object. A blackbird just sees, literally just sees. We don't. And in a way, that ability to label things is very powerful. It means if tomorrow somebody says, what did you do last night? And you say, well, I listened to a talk by Priyavajra, and in the talk he held up a lemon, they know what you mean. They know what goes on. And that's great. And that's very, very powerful. And as I say, human beings, perhaps the only animal with the capacity. I mean, other animals probably can label things, but not in the way that human beings can. But there is a problem, and the problem is this. So not long ago, actually it's about a year ago now, some friends of mine went to the United States and had a wonderful time. They travelled all around the United States, and I said, what did you see? And they said, we saw all these amazing things, the Grand Canyon, and we saw Niagara Falls. And I said, Niagara Falls? I've always wished I'd seen Niagara Falls. What was it like? And they said, it's a waterfall. Yeah, I know it's a waterfall. It's huge. Yeah, I kind of know that too. And they told me all about the waterfall and what river it was and how many million litres of water and stuff poured over it. And I said, yeah, but what was it like? And they didn't seem to know what I meant. What I meant was, what was it like to be there? What was it like to be in front of this amazing natural phenomenon? What was your experience? And it was like they hadn't had an experience. They were too busy thinking about it. They were lost in labels. They could show me a picture of it on the phone, which wasn't very interesting because you can see one on the internet any day. They could even show me a kind of mini movie or something of water pouring down. But that didn't tell me what it was like to be close to this amazing powerhouse of energy and the noise and the water and this. What was that like? And I'm not blaming them. We do that all the time. We just go, lemon. Yeah, I know what a lemon is. No, do you know what a lemon is? Do you know what a lemon smells like? Yeah? Do you really know? Could you draw a lemon and make it really look like a lemon? And when you really look at a lemon without the labels, without the concepts, without all of your prejudices and things, then it's an extraordinary thing. All right? So that's seeing. So the next thing he says to Bahiya is in the hearing only the heard. Okay. Now this hearing's even more interesting actually, because as soon as I hear a sound, I automatically label it. And if I can't label it, then I can feel this sort of tension. What was that sound? What was it? Was it a car alarm or an ice cream van? Or was it the neighbours upstairs? What was that sound? It's as if my mind is desperate to label the sound. Of course, once we label the sound, something else happens, which is quite interesting. So, it's my neighbours upstairs playing this ghastly, trashy music. Yuck! Why have they got such a horrible taste in music, and why do they have to play it at 2 o'clock in the morning? I hate them. It made me so angry. They're so inconsiderate. Or, what's that? A police siren? A police siren? At 6 o'clock in the morning, I want to sleep. Why do they have to have their siren? There's nothing on the road, for goodness sake. There's nothing on the road. Why do they have to wake me up again in the morning? Or, wow, I woke up this morning and what I heard was the sound of a blackbird. And I just love blackbirds and I love their song. They have the most magical song. It's so complicated. It's so beautiful. I just love it. So perhaps you can see what's going on there. You've got a sound, which is actually just a sound, and then you label it. And once you've labelled it, along with that label comes, wow, a whole package of stuff. Emotions and feelings, love, anger. It's a nice sound or it's a nasty sound. It's a pleasant sound or it's an unpleasant sound. It causes me pleasure or it causes me suffering. And this is what the Buddha is saying to Bahiya, isn't it? This is what he says at the end. This is how you should train yourself, Bahiya. When you do this, there will be no more suffering. You see, once we've labelled this, once we've labelled something, it's good or it's bad. You either like lemons or you don't like lemons. If you like them, you want lemons. Yeah, I want lemons. I want lemons. Give me lemons. Or I don't like, lemons, they're so sour, yuck, keep them away. Or we want to get lemons out of my life. They cause suffering, if you like, or at least displeasure. And yeah, so things do that, sounds do that. There are sounds we like, sounds we don't like, sounds that give us pleasure, sounds that cause us suffering. I can get so annoyed with a certain sound. But it's only a sound. If we had this ability that the Buddha is saying to Bahiya, to have in the hearing only the heard, just the sound, not all the stuff that comes along with it, just the sound. Yeah? And then he goes on. In the sensing, only the sensed. So we can apply this to all the other senses. Taste. Yeah? Foods I like, foods I don't like. You either like Marmite or you hate Marmite. It's either it gives you pleasure or it gives you displeasure. It's either nice or it's nasty. Some people like it, some people don't. Why? I don't know. Perhaps it's what they were given when they were a kid. But it sort of doesn't matter. It's just a taste. It is just a taste. There is nothing special about Marmite. It's not nice or it's not nasty. And yet, I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like the smell of it. I tried to keep it out the house, but people keep on buying it. Oh well, I give it up now. But, can I go beyond that? Can I just let go of all that stuff? Can I let go of all that learning? Can I let go of all that prejudice? Can I let go of all those attitudes that I have about things being nice and things being nasty? Liking this person, not liking that person. Yeah? It's full of it, isn't it? We spend our whole life discriminating in an unhelpful way. And we can discriminate in helpful ways. But most of our time, we're just discriminating on the basis of prejudice, on the basis of just nothing really, except a sort of habit we've got into that makes one thing good and one thing bad. And the Buddha's just saying, let go of all that. Let go of all those prejudices, all those attitudes, all those likes and dislikes. Just let go. Just let go. Just live in the moment. And just be whatever it is. Just be with it as it is. You will experience a lot less suffering. And the final bit is in the thinking only the thought. And perhaps this is the most profound thing of all. That we have lots of thoughts. Yeah? We have lots of thoughts. We're always making up stories about what's happened and what's happening. Yeah? I gave this person a present the other day and they didn't look very grateful. I wish I hadn't given it to them. I think she fancies me. Nice. We're doing it all the time. It's nonsense, most of it. Most of it is quite negative, actually. But we do it. We're continually making up stories. The Buddha called it prapancha. Modern psychologists call it rumination. And it's actually one of the most, it's considered to be a major cause of depression. Yeah, a major cause of depression. So it's making lots of people miserable. But it's people just telling themselves stories about the world and believing them. And the Buddha is just saying, don't do that, it's just causing suffering. All right. So enough. Priyavajra just talked quite a lot, lots of words. And so we're going to have a break now. So it's only a break for about 5 minutes. We'll be back at 8 o'clock. And it's time for you to go to the loo and make a cup of tea or something. All right, so I'll see you in 5 minutes.
welcome back. Thanks very much, Priyavajra, beautifully told. So we're going to begin again with a short meditation, and what I'm going to invite you to do is just follow these simple instructions. You could call this a guided exploration of something we call choiceless awareness. So we're just allowing our experience to manifest. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch, and also consciousness, our thinking. We're not holding on to anything, we're not pushing anything away. We're just allowing ourselves to experience anything that arises of any of the six senses. So in Buddhism we regard consciousness as the sixth sense. So thoughts are mental objects, the same way as sight, sound, smell, taste and touch. So settling yourselves into your meditation posture, letting the weight of your body be supported by the chair, the cushion, the bed. And once again, sense of the structure of whatever you're sitting on being supported by the floor, foundation of the building, the ground and the earth. Letting the weight of your shoulders fall away towards the floor. The belly be soft. Spine rising up from the cushion, from the chair, from the bed. First through the spine, stacking one on top of the other. Leaving an upright, alert, yet relaxed posture. Taking time to connect with the breath again, feeling the rise and fall of the belly and the chest with the in-breath and the out-breath. Your awareness to sense of sight, and pictures behind the eyelids or in your mind's eye. And letting those impressions fade. Becoming aware of the sound that surrounds us. And the sound rising out of nowhere, disappearing back into nowhere again. Sounds can be harsh or soft, loud or quiet. Either pushing away or holding on to any experience of sound. Sense of smell. A sense of the aromas that surround us. Not be grasping onto pleasant smell or pushing away unpleasant smell. Just becoming aware of our experience. Paying attention now to a sense of taste on our lips, and the roof of our mouth, back of our throat. And touch. Touch of the air against the skin, clothes against the body. Weight supported by the chair or the cushion. And last but not least, thoughts or consciousness. Thoughts coming into awareness like bubbles, rising from the bottom of a glass of water and disappearing as they reach the surface. Neither pushing away or holding on to any particular thought. And that broadening our awareness to the whole experience again. Sight, sound, smell, taste, touch and consciousness. Bring our awareness to whatever arises, noticing and letting go. Letting go of the labels, the judgments, the stories. There's a sight, there's a visual impression. There's a sound. There's a sense of smell. There's a taste, a sensation of touch. and a thought. Neither grasping nor rejecting any experience, sitting in choiceless awareness. Letting go of our tendency to attach or push away. Letting go of any efforts, just coming back into awareness of your surroundings. Sense of your weight on the cushion, the chair or the bed. As the third chime of the singing bowl fades away, when you're ready, open your eyes and sitting at ease. So I'm going to hand back to Priyavajra in a short while, but just to remind you, if you've got any questions, then you can send them to us, and they'll appear in our chat box. And after Priyavajra's just said a little bit more, then he and I will both be able to, we might be able to answer some of your questions.
Good. Yes, thank you, Sia. A very appropriate meditation, I thought, so thank you very much for that. And I just want to tell a little story. As far as I know, it's a true story. It comes from a Tibetan and Nepalese Rinpoche, so I assume it's true. And there's a man who is sailing solo across an ocean. So he's on a boat on his own, and he's been at sea for many, many months on his own, and it's just him in this teeny boat surrounded by sea. And he comes to love the sea. He sees it in all its colours. Sometimes it's angry, sometimes it's calm. And what he particularly likes about the sea is the different sounds it makes. Sometimes it just makes this extraordinary. It's like it becomes like music after 3 months. It's just like music, and he wakes up every morning and there's this music playing, and it's just the sound of the sea, and it's constantly changing. Anyway, the voyage comes to an end. He ends up at a harbour, and he sort of parks his boat. I'm sure that's not the right word, but anyway, he puts his boat in the right place, and then he goes to look for somewhere to sleep. It's quite late, it's already evening, and he wants, it's going to be first night on dry land for many, many days, and he's looking for someone comfortable to sleep. Actually, he finds it quite difficult to find somewhere, but eventually he finds a small hotel, and he's shown to a room, and by this time it's already dark, and he's quite tired, so he just lies down and he falls asleep pretty quickly. And he wakes up the next morning, and the sun's shining through the curtains, and he's so happy. He can hear the sound of the sea. So he didn't know this. He didn't know the hotel was so near the sea. He can hear the sea, and it's magical. And he thinks, wow, this is fantastic. This is just such a wonderful ending to my voyage. I'm on dry land, but I can still hear this music playing. How wonderful. Anyway, so he gets up, and he's still really, really happy. He's really, really happy that this hotel's next to the sea, and he can still hear the sea. So he kind of gets washed, and he cleans his teeth, and then he opens the curtains, and there's a 6-lane motorway outside the hotel. What he's been hearing is not the sound of the sea, it's the whooshing of the cars as they stream past the hotel window at 90 miles an hour. And he's just devastated. He's really hurt. He's really upset. It just makes this horrible noise, this excruciating noise in his horrible car. How did I end up in this horrible place? And he's really... Anyway, I'm sure you get the point of the story. The same sound, which at one moment is causing him extraordinary pleasure, the next moment is causing him despair, if you like. So again, it's this labelling process, isn't it, that we get ourselves into, and that eventually causes us, well, it does, it causes us suffering. There's no question about it. This labelling process causes us suffering. So in Buddhism, we have this idea of something called bare attention. So bare attention is where you just see, or you just smell, or you just taste. You let go of the labels. You just experience the senses as they are. And it's actually quite hard. It's actually quite difficult to do that, because we've got a lifetime of labelling, a lifetime of discriminating, a lifetime of saying I like this and I don't like that. So it's quite hard. Very young children, quite young children, don't have that problem. You can sometimes see young children playing, and they play with anything. They play with a matchbox, they play with grass. I was in the park a few weeks ago just watching this kid, and they're just fascinated by the grass and sort of pulling it, touch it, and it just constantly, and it wasn't like it would ever get boring. He was just in this magical state. We're just really enjoying the grass in the park, just really enjoying it. And we probably can't do that. We haven't got that freedom from our lifetime of programming, in a sense. We've been programmed by ourselves and our environment to discriminate in an unhelpful way. Yes, so occasionally though, we can get into this state, and the more I talk to people about this, the more I realise that people do actually get into this state where they do kind of let go of labels and just do things. And it can happen to artists when they're painting. They just kind of get lost in the activity of painting. People who do gardening, a lot of gardening, actually tell me that sometimes when they're in the garden, they're potting plants, and they're not thinking about what they're doing. They're not really thinking about anything. Runners, people who go running, they can get in a state where they're just running. They just get into the flow and they're just running and they're not thinking about anything. Long distance walkers. Actually, athletes of all sorts, swimmers and people like that, can come into this sort of this sort of magical state, and it's a highly pleasurable state. Certainly runners, when they get into this state, experience it as highly pleasurable, and that's my understanding, that this is a very pleasurable state. So bear attention, something we can perhaps learn to do. Okay, so Sangha, Sia and I are going to try and answer questions. I understand from Britta we've already got a question. Yes, she's just going to read it out to us.
Okay, sorry for the delay. How do we slow down and decouple from the process of rumination? Asks Mercia.
Right, lovely question, Mercy. Thank you very much. Superb question. Absolutely spot on. So how do we do it? Okay, I'll say a few words and then Sangha will perhaps add something to it. So when we first start meditating, the first thing we notice is how busy our minds are. That's what people notice. I've taught masses of meditation, and Sangha has too. We've taught lots of classes of meditation. The first thing people notice is their minds are continually working away. They just really notice it, and they can be quite upset by it, realise. And what the mind is doing is just discriminating. It's saying, this is good, this is bad, you've done that wrong, why can't you meditate? Why are you doing that? Why is your mind so busy? And so on. It just does that. So the problem is the mind does this automatically a lot of the time. Most of the time we don't notice it, we're so habituated to it, but we don't notice it. So how do we stop it? So actually Sangha has just given us a wonderful example. And the example he's given us is he's led us through a practice called just sitting. And this is a meditation practice where, in a sense, you do almost nothing. You're not trying to do anything. You're just sitting with your experience. You're just sitting with your experience, and you're noticing what often you do notice is how busy the mind is, and you just notice that. So it's this the third part of the Buddha's teaching, in the thinking only the thought. So you just notice that you're thinking. You don't try to push it away, you don't chase after it, you just notice. And you'll notice that these thoughts come out of nowhere. They just come from nowhere. And if we can learn to do that, to just watch these thoughts appear, and then they disappear, and then another thought comes, and that disappears. After a while, they sort of lose their energy. They start to lose their energy. At first, the thoughts are quite sort of, oh, I ought to do this, or I must do that, and they're quite strong. But they kind of lose their bite, and they kind of soften, and they will, if we keep practicing long enough, they will quieten down. But also we can do these activities that I talked about just a minute ago. Activities where we're doing something that's inherently perhaps physical, and we just allow the mind to settle. You can do it walking in the park. You just walk in the park, and first you notice your mind is quite busy, but after a while you'll notice that it calms down and it starts to settle. And you will find it is the good bit is it is it is a very pleasurable state to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only thing to sort of slightly elaborate on that a little bit is that once we let go of the sort of characteristics and qualities of our experience, it allows us to absorb ourselves in the process of that experience. So rather than noticing, if you like, the fine detail, we're just noticing that actually everything's in a state of flux. Our experience is changing all the time. And that sense of pleasure can come from actually being in line with that awareness of the process, the fact that we're in flux. So the runner being in resonating with the process of running, not with the minutiae of their experience. You know, but when it stops being pleasurable is when you notice you got a cramp in your calf. then that takes you away from the process. Yeah, I hope that makes sense to people. So we're constantly noticing that obviously these things arise, and just doing our best to let go of them and re-engaging with just an awareness of the process and awareness of the flux of our experience.
Thank you. I think that's probably all we can take now.
Yeah, now it's up to me to ask for money. Okay, so we run here on something called dana, which loosely translates as generosity. So there's a sort of flow of generosity in terms of, you know, what we can provide here at the London Buddhist Centre. And like almost every activity worldwide, you know, we've our ability to provide what we normally do has been much curtailed by, you know, lockdown and also COVID-19 considerations. So our income's dropped a lot, as you can imagine. We're not able to run activities that used to generate income for us in the way that we were used to. So I'd really encourage you, if you can, to give, and the details of how to give are on the website, and really please, you know, do consider perhaps even setting up a regular payment to the London Buddhist Centre, so we can continue to offer things like sessions like we're offering this evening. So really encourage you to do that. Also, you know, just keep abreast of everything that we've got running online. We've also started opening up in person as well at lunchtimes and on Saturdays. So there's more details of that on the website as well. Priyavajra and I are both teaching on selective lunchtimes. I'm teaching next Wednesday. Be very pleased to see some of you here in real life. That would be lovely. So I haven't been teaching at the centre for 6 months, and it'd be lovely to come back and see real people in real meditation postures and ringing a real Tibetan singing bell in a real shrine room. So I'm very much looking forward to that. So we'll finish this evening with a very short ritual. It's called the Transference of Merit. So, as my nan used to say, if you want to keep something, you give it away. Yeah. So we've been earning what we call punya, which is merit, for all our good actions, from the teaching, from listening to the teaching, to meditating. We're accumulating merit. But what we need to do with our merit is actually give it away back to the universe again. So hopefully my friends here in the shrine room will join me in call and response. And if you'd like to do that at home, then you can do it very loudly, perhaps we can hear you. And I'll just find the right bit, which I should have got. Turn the page over earlier. So, transference of merit and self-surrender. May the merit gained.
May the merit gained.
In my acting thus.
In my acting thus.
Go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
Go to the alleviation of the suffering of all beings.
In my personality throughout my existences.
My personality throughout my existences.
My possessions.
My possessions.
And my merit in all three ways.
And my merit in all three ways.
I give up without regard to myself.
I give up without regard to myself.
For the benefit of all beings.
For the benefit of all beings.
Just as the earth and other elements.
The earth and other elements.
Are serviceable in many ways.
Are serviceable in many ways.
To the infinite number of beings.
to the infinite number of beings,
inhabiting limitless space,
inhabiting limitless space.
so may I become
So may I become
that which maintains all beings,
that which maintains all beings,
situated throughout space,
situated throughout space,
so long as all have not attained
so long as all have not attained
to peace.
to peace.
So good night from all of us here, and take care.